Hey guys, Lex here with another Dark and Darker video. This time we're jumping in on the Slayer Fighter. If you couldn't tell, I've been experimenting with this build pretty frequently the past few days. Been trying to get a more accurate feel for how it plays and what and how best to run it in solo Goblin caves, at least in my eyes, how best to run it. And yeah, I decided to give it a serious shot here. You can see in the background how I decided to gear myself up for this run. You can feel free to pause it at any time if you want to see the items that I grabbed or the build that I'm running. But I see the potential in this build. It's got a great combination of damage and move speed. At, again, the cost of some survivability since you can't wear heavy plate or anything like that. But there are some workarounds to your survivability that I've kind of come across. You will never be able to reach the physical damage reduction that plate armor can reach, but you may not need to. And I'll use the rest of this video to talk about the different itemizations or what I think is like optimal for armor choices and weapon choices, etc. You know, and going in if you can afford it with a ranged option. I'm not sure if you can call what I'm doing here a budget run. I'm spending a little bit extra so I can give it more of a solid shot with some blues and greens, just to see how it feels on the not higher end. I'm not bringing in purples, but kind of in the middle end. You know, bringing in some decently strong items. But you know, there's a bunch of different stuff to consider, like what type of armor you should be wearing, which weapon is the best considering your perks, which perks and skills to choose even in the first place. There's not a ton of room for switching too much stuff out. There are some like perks and skills you should obviously run, but there is some room for personal choice here, and I have my own version of Slayer that I like running that has a pretty decent extract rate and success rate, and can go toe-to-toe with a lot of classes, though we're starting to see a Barbarian heavy meta, and that's kind of scary to try and square up with in melee. But yeah, let's get into it. So as far as the itemization goes, armor-wise, I think the three biggest things you can get from the merchants currently are the riveted gloves, the heavy leather leggings, and the padded tunic. All of these give you innate strength. They all come with strength, and even at higher rarities, like greens and blues, the strength is increased to like 2 to 3. I think purples might even go up to 4. It's amazing to just be able to get strength straight up off the bat. You know, strength is so good for Slayer Fighter because it gives you both damage and survivability. Yeah, you really want to stack strength. And obviously the other stats you want to consider stacking are +2 to all and plus weapon damage, or perhaps even plus agility, because, you know, even some more move speed and swing speed will make you a little bit scarier to deal with. But this is assuming they don't change plus weapon damage and plus all here soon, because I know in a recent Q&A SDF conducted on the Dark and Darker Discord, he did state that those particular stat rolls are a little bit too extreme and they're likely going to be changing them soon. So as it stands, that's what I'd say is important, but you know, this is early access and they're frequently making updates, so it's subject to change, but right now, those are some pretty obviously strong stat rolls you can stack on your gear. As far as perks go, obviously you're running Slayer, you're running Dual Wield, you're running Combo Attack. Those are pretty much the quintessential 3 that I think all Slayer fighters can agree upon. And then there's Projectile Resistance, or I would say Swift. I mean, you can't go wrong with even more move speed, honestly. I mean, SDF in the most recent Q&A even said that movement speed is the most important stat in the game, or the most powerful stat in the game. So, you know, more movement speed is never a bad thing. But you are not quite as tanky as a plate fighter, so wherever you can select perks to kind of reduce the damage you're taking via something like Projectile Resistance, you should take it. I mean, you know, there's a lot of rangers in the meta, and this also applies to certain casted spells. I think like Fireball, and pretty sure Zap is on that list. So it's pretty useful against casters as well. Just a pretty good damage reducing stat across the board. Alright, so let's talk about weapon choice. Obviously you're wielding a lantern in your offhand. They no longer give you movement speed, but they don't reduce your movement speed, and you're not really alternating attacks or anything, so it's an ideal offhand, so you're not reducing your speed, but you're getting the perks of Slayer and Dual Wield and all that stuff. And the two main contenders as far as weapons go in your main hand is either the Arming Sword or Falchion. I mean, it's tough because the Arming Sword, with the weapon rebalancing the devs recently implemented, hits for about 23-ish in the grayish junk quality range, and 28-ish, I would say, in the green-blue quality range, while the Falchion is hitting for 33 in the junk quality range and almost 10 more, 37, 38-ish in the green to blue quality range. Pretty big difference. You're hitting 10 damage more per swing with a Falchion. However, when thinking about Slayer, which adds a flat +5 weapon damage to whatever you're using, the Arming Sword benefits a little more since it swings faster. I mean, if you imagine getting 2 swings in during the Falchion's one. I know the Arming Sword doesn't swing exactly twice as fast as the Falchion, but it is pretty fast. So you want to think about how the flat weapon damage benefits the Arming Sword's swing speed a little bit more than the Falchion. You know, you're getting... If you're swinging twice, you're getting 10 damage out of Slayer compared to the Falchion's one. And again, I know it's not exactly twice as fast, but it is very close to twice as fast. So Arming Sword in my book gets a little bit of the edge there, but Falchion is not a bad choice. Obviously, if you find a green or blue quality Falchion compared to your like junk or white quality Arming Sword, you're most likely going to want to use the Falchion. The DPS will still be higher. But it's, you know, something to consider. You know, green quality Arming Sword, even though it looks like the numbers are quite a bit lower, when running Slayer, they're actually it's gonna be hitting really hard. Also, this Ranger was totally loaded. Very funny fight there. I just think he got greedy. I kind of baited him to chase after me because I ran forward and was like, oh no, I've got to deal with a bummy. And he kind of took the bait and jumped down and was just caught in a terrible position. Super easy kill. Just chased him down and swung away. But another weapon to consider is the Flanged Mace. It hits pretty hard. The swing speed is kind of slow compared to the Arming Sword once again, but it does have armor penetration. And the reach is deceptively long. It's a little bit predictable with the way it swings overhead and just kind of only going for the head bonks. But it is a pretty strong weapon. I've used it a couple times on Slayer Fighter, and just the passive increase to swing speed makes it feel pretty good. Further testing is needed, but I could see it improving your matchups against fighters and clerics, and honestly even barbarians at this point. They seem to be stacking a lot of armor. So any big tanky boys that have, you know, high PDR, I think a Flanged Mace might give you maybe a slight edge in a one-on-one with. And I don't know what this barb here was thinking, honestly. I don't know how much health he had. He must have been low, though. They tend to be tanky. Oh, we should also talk about skills. You know, a lot of people run Adrenaline Rush, but I've got to be honest, I don't think I've had a single fight that I've won or lost and was like, oh man, Adrenaline Rush won me that fight. Or, oh man, if I only had Adrenaline Rush, that would have won the fight for me. Honestly, I think Second Wind is a lot better than Adrenaline Rush, even when running Slayer. I know I said previously you don't get as much out of it since you're not wearing plate armor for the big PDR to make your health go farther. However, Second Wind heals half of your health, percentage-wise. It's just 50% of your health healed. And since you're running so much strength as a Slayer fighter due to your riveted gloves, your padded tunic, and your heavy leather leggings, it is healing for more, just the amount it's healing for is more. So that still makes it pretty valuable in a Slayer build, honestly. And I run Second Wind over Adrenaline Rush every time now. I mean, Adrenaline Rush is 25% more swing speed. I don't think damage is ever the issue when I'm running down casters or rangers. It's never a damage problem when I'm running Slayer. The move speed and damage is up there already, so Adrenaline Rush kind of feels like a win more button. Also, Adrenaline Rush is only maximally effective if you're able to get a bunch of uptime on your target, you know, if you're able to sit on them and get that faster swing speed for the entire duration of Adrenaline Rush, which is honestly unlikely. I mean, you know, if you're up front and on a caster or a ranger, you're probably going to kill them pretty quick. Against a barbarian, you do not want to be trading blows with them with a buff. You know, you do not want uptime on them. You want to kind of like use your mobility, hit and run, hit and run. And against fighters and such, I don't think it just works either, man. I don't think you're gonna be able to out-damage their PDR with some extra swing speed. Adrenaline Rush won't make you win the DPS race, essentially. Especially if they're blocking and all that. Yeah, and there's a little Warlock Duel at the end here that I kind of wanted to watch a bit of. It's so ridiculous. Warlocks are pretty strong in this meta right now, I've got to say. It was a little janky at first. People thought the Hydra was useless, but players quickly found a good use for them, just using them for heals and using them in groups as a lightning rod, basically for chain lightning, all sorts of silly stuff. I'm kind of glad that that Warlocks are feeling more fleshed out and we're seeing them more and more. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I mean, you know, you can see the run in the back was a pretty good one. Lots of trinkets looted off of that Ranger. Barbarian didn't have so much. And overall, I think the Slayer build is decent. It's strong, but again, after running it for a bit, I think I would still prefer the tank build of Fighter. However, instead of going full plate, I think I will still run the riveted gloves and the leather leggings. I really like the passive strength you get from those in addition to the other rolls that they can have. It's really strong, especially if you can make up for that plate deficit by rolling plus armor as one of the rolls on one of those pieces. It's super good. You can get plenty of armor just running plate fighter, but running riveted gloves and heavy leather leggings and just getting a huge chunk of extra health on top of that. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for this video, guys. Till next time.